This is Justin AMZN on Monday, September 23rd, 2019. Initially, we had a little bit more of a rollover, a little more selling off first thing in the morning, and then started to form a double bottom that actually turned into a little more of a head and shoulders, inverted head and shoulders, with kind of the 21 acting as a neckline, and then pretty much just rallied from there. If you drew a traditional, like kind of a straight across horizontal neckline, then this was a quick retest. This is kind of a secondary retest. Or if you use the 21 or kind of an angle of a neckline, it didn't really retest very far. It didn't even come back down to the 21, which showed that there was at this level a lot more buyers coming in on the day. But initially, there was a good bearish move. Right out the gate, selling off, retraced, didn't quite get into the 21, put a really nice inverted hammer, inside candle, and then these two candles are a tweezer top with a high at 1778.50. That rolls down, makes a new low on the day, and then from there, high wave candle, inside, wait, no, slightly lower low, I think. Oh man, by 14 cents. That traps some bears. So this low was 14 cents lower. Sorry, I keep moving just to check. This low was 14 cents lower than this low, which meant that there were bears selling them there and there were bulls buying down there, and or bears closing out their position, I guess you could say too. So from this level, from these two candles, it bounced, put a really nice rally, 6 candles up, and then pulled back a little bit. Makes sense that it's going to do that. But a really nice small hammer here, right back into the range of that high wave candle, and then from there, put in a move up, Morningstar reversal, inside candle, a higher high, higher and low, right into the 21, and then from there, this is really a nice setup to get in bullish above this high and a stop right below the high wave candle. And that would have just worked. And so let's look at, and we have the squeeze. So let's look at going bullish on the 1015 candle. So at 1015, we'll look at the 1800 call, and you could have been getting into that one maybe $7 or seven something. 725 probably here. Get above this high. Maybe 725 by 625. Yeah, that could have worked. So about $1 risk there. And even though you didn't really have that inverted head and shoulders on the option, you did have a double bottom right here. And the retest price came down, the low was 765. And so even trading this hammer, I mean, getting in on that hammer, 850 by 750, this was at 1050 in the morning. That was this candle at 1050, and even that worked to continue on up bullish. So had you gotten in down here around 750 by 650 and just held on, I mean, getting out at 2 hours, oh, not quite right here. Looks like you would have had to hold through that pullback. So you would have been barely up, probably would have been a little nervous, moving your stop, but still would have worked out as long as you didn't trail your stop too aggressively. But then you're still profitable. But let that pull back and then move your stop right up here to break even, or a little more than break even as it starts to bounce. And then having a nice target around 10 right at that open should have been easily filled. And then it did end up pushing up to 11, maybe 1150. So just depends on where you had your target. Probably a good target would have been up around our next line, but it didn't rally hard enough to get up there. And where it actually rallied, it was still below this uptrend channel, but came into we got above the low from yesterday, which is good, but we didn't quite get into the closing price up here. So that was still acting as resistance. Didn't even get up there today. This is the closest we got, and this is really where we had some indecision come in. We rallied back up to on this drop and then retracement. So that was our resistance here. So folks that were selling from here were probably the ones selling again today, which makes sense. I mean, there's a lot more sellers here after this initial push down. there are a lot more sellers coming in here. And so to say that, or to stay at that same price or stay below that same price makes sense. More sellers are going to come right back in at that level. Even the levels here too, there were people selling right off of that level. We did push it past that on Friday. But in terms of the bullish trade, there's some selling right off the bat. Bulls coming in, pushed lower. Bulls came in again here. So we had a really nice rally here of 6 candles. The most we got on Friday was these 5, and then had that really large pullback even further here. So to see 6 candles and I guess to come right back up into this inverted hammer and this tweezer top, when I got this close, it makes sense that, okay, maybe there's something else going on here with some consolidation. Really want to see this roll over and then just continue lower, and it didn't. And so that would have been a clear indication that, okay, it's not going to continue bearish today, and still it could do that. Looking at the daily, we had a gap down and a fade basically back up here, and so we came back into this range of this gap, I guess. So that was a bullish retest gap. We retested that gap here, and then today we just retested kind of longer term. So this is kind of starting to be the area. It's like it shouldn't really be down here, and if we go a little lower, it's going to feel like that as well. Similar to this kind of thing. So if we look at this candle to this candle, there's some similarities. The 21 was very sideways at this point as it started to move up, along with this rally, and then we pulled back through it. We were already sideways and breaking down through it, so we didn't get that push higher, like this one had, from sideways. We were sideways and went lower, but the 2 candles look very similar. You've got basically an open near a resistance, and we opened up a little bit above a pivot, moved down, and then we didn't really get into support like we did really nicely down here with these horizontal lines. I don't think we had this line in there yet. Actually, I can go back and check. Let's see, did we? No, that would have just been the second point. So that wouldn't have said, okay, yeah, there it is. It was once that pivot came in, then you could have drawn this along with some of this, but I think I didn't even draw it to like over here. But anyway, still comparing the two candles like this, if we get a large candle tomorrow going bullish here, let me draw. That's weird. Oh, I updated this. I'm getting a different format here. Okay. If we get a bullish candle like this tomorrow, this being a bullish green candle, and I don't even think, oh yeah, I do a green. Okay, need to start that over. Clear the drawing. Let me just draw. Something like this tomorrow, it's going to look very similar to this candle over here. And if we can get into our next pivot like we did here, then it's going to look a lot like this and could totally set us up for a rally. Could set us up for a rally. Not sure how far though. So let's wait and see what happens next. But it's a really good place to bounce. It's also a really good place to sell off. If we get a gap down, we should continue lower. It'll be a bearish gap and go. Decent bullish volume today. Kind of par for the course from what we had last couple of weeks. But if we can get a nice bullish day, with some increasing volume tomorrow, then it could totally be set up for a nice rally here. Let's see. I'm just trying to see if there's any other candles this looks similar to. We've pulled back like that and gap down. Bearish candle gapping down with a bullish candle like this one. Nothing's really jumping out. I guess maybe like this. This was after a nice bullish run. So this one was a fade and then gap down, faded, and then sideways. I mean, we can still totally go sideways a little longer too. So that's definitely a possibility. Kind of one of these here. So left, gap down, and faded. Yeah, I think this is probably the best to compare to, just because we had so much sideways. So I guess we'll just have to wait it out and see. In terms of going bearish right out the gate, at open, the prices, you never know what the price is going to be right at open. And so once it has this lower wick here, the range of this, open around 9 and the low is at 785, but still setting up something like 9 by 8 still could have worked here and went and ran up to 1150. So that would have still been a 2R gain. You could have done the same setup here. It just didn't quite make it up to 11. And you already had a little bit of this consolidation that wasn't as strong to the downside. You had these bigger candles, good volume, and on these three candles, that volume kind of dried up. It dropped. The bullish volume was much higher compared to these three candles. This candle, I don't want to say that was exhaustion volume. Let's see, was there something that was exhaustion volume? Maybe this opening was somewhat exhaustion, and then a couple more, some more bears trying to push it lower. They did successfully. So I'm not seeing big bearish candle with a spike in volume that I'd consider exhaustion volume. I'm just thinking through what the bearish setup could have been, and then at the end of the day, it looked like there was some more here. Yeah, so a little bit of bounce at the end of the day, but probably the 1750 would have been a little bit tough there too. Maybe going up half an hour. Getting in at 4, stop down at 3, getting out at 450, something like that. I don't know. I think most of the action was earlier in the day, going bearish, then getting in bullish on one of these breakouts with the squeeze here, going bullish. And if we miss this one, there was another opportunity here. And after that, we really went sideways for a couple hours. And probably good to take a break from watching and call the direction. So this was the call. Yeah, I could have been buying here. Even here, you could have gotten in on this pullback. I think at 1155, it just about touched the 21, and the rally from here up to new high on the day here, this one, that would have actually moved to our calls. So getting in right at 950 and a stop at 850, which isn't really comforting to have a stop there. I like the stop a little ways away from this lower wick, but if you had gotten in 950 by 850, it did go up to 1150. So it would have retraced back up to the high here, and you could have gotten out at that price. And then it looks like it almost worked again. This would have been getting in at 950, but it didn't make it up to 1150 here, even though it made a higher high than this one. This was just kind of a grind higher from here to here to here. And the move didn't seem as far. Let's see, the low here is around 1784, 1782. So around $8 move, and this was 6, 793, so $7 move, something like that. So a little bit smaller move here, which meant that the option just didn't move as much. So that makes sense. And then we ended up pulling back through those values. So if you try to buy at 950 again here, it didn't work. So 950 or 10 by 9, something like that, and just flip it out for an R. It technically made it up to 12. I just don't know if we would have filled. Getting at 10, stop at 9, and getting filled at 12. I don't know if that would have worked at the high there. Probably would not have. But as it's getting into a new high, that's where you may have adjusted your target to say, okay, I'm going to get out as it makes that high, whatever that price is. And then really shortly after that, it looked like it was going to consolidate and maybe continue, and then it pulled right back into the 21, went sideways for half an hour before it started to continue up a little bit. So just some interesting moves today. More so digesting the big bearish move. It makes sense that we didn't have another big bearish move today. Needed some more time to consolidate, and this, kind of this bigger picture here looks like a bit of a flag here. So we can do a little bit more of that tomorrow. I don't know that we're going to get into 1815 unless we have, this kind of bigger Morningstar reversal, sort of big bullish candle. I think we would need that to push into 1815. If this looks more like a flag and we do some more sideways or even start to roll over, look for probably 1796 or right at 1800 to be some resistance, possibly as high up as like 1805 to be some resistance, just because we pivoted there on some of these, like this, this open. Oops, no, sorry. Let's see. The lows in here are at 1800. The open here around 1805. This pivot 1805. This pivot 1805. If we can get back up into that and then see if we roll over, that's definitely a possibility. So, and then that would turn this more into kind of a double top and a neckline retracement and then a rollover. And I mean, we're in a bit more of a downtrend. So, but we're back soon to see kind of how this play out. So I hope this helps. This is just AMZN. Thanks.